Hey there, guys and gals. This is BL Blankenship. Well, I wear a lot of hats. I am the I Shook Comics editor in chief, but I'm also a comic book writer, editor, creator, what have you. Written a bunch of books, songs, yada, yada, yada. You all know that. Or I guess you all know that. Anyway, what I'm doing right now is doing what I said I would do, even though things had changed with I Shook. So while this is not an I Shook podcast thing, I said I'm going to review the Superman movie on Monday. You know, all of that goodness. I'm looking at a laptop at the same time, trying to wait for this thing to like go live, and it's doing it now. So I can go ahead and share that. So as that might make you believe, I got no help. Yeah, so I'm just kind of swinging, doing my thing. Not going to take too long, but I'm jabbering here while I'm doing that. If you like and share and all of that beautifulness, that would make it easy for you to catch any kind of videos that I put up. I do share the I Shook videos and what have you on this. You know, you just can kind of link them and all that. So all of that goodness goes on. But I do have a few comic books that I have read and I'm going to review and talk about some things that are coming up for Free Comic Book Day. And, you know, more or less that. I'm probably not going to be very long, about 30 minutes or so. So anyway, I've pretty well got all of the sharing stuff done. Click, click, click. Twitter, a LinkedIn, Blue Sky. But Ben, wait, you're using Restream, doesn't it just do that? Yeah, this is the free version. It's only got like, what, 20 some hours or something a month, which I mean, I don't go like hog wild. If I was making money off of YouTube or whatever doing this, then absolutely that would substantiate paying that. But, you know, I'm trying to build up my channel which is a weird thing because it's like something that I've never like really tried to do except for the last few weeks. So, whatever. Okay, my phone is now muted, which is like weird or whatever because it kind of always is. Let me open up the chat. Okay, so now I can see the chat if somebody happens to write me anything because I always forget that part. Right. Anyway, so here this past weekend or whatever between now and the last I Shook Comics thing, I read a few different comics. I've already read Buried Long, Long Ago, book number 1. It's fantastic. Not only is it fantastic, but I thought this is the type of thing, it's like horror, but it's like cool, that I'm like, that I could lure my 11-year-old niece into the world of comics with. She's read my stuff, like many people, a growing amassment of people. She likes them, right? So they're humor. So she likes the Cat and Mouse and the Larry Bogus and propaganda comics and all that. She thinks they're cute. She thinks they're funny. Sadly, it's the closest thing to Mad Magazine that I think she's ever seen. I was raised on Mad Magazine, so that's what you got going on there. So I introduced her to a few different comics, but issue number 1 of this was there. I've recently just read number 2. I've recently just read number 3, which means that vetting number 2 it was appropriate. I felt like for my 11-year-old niece. There's blood and there's gore in it. There's a monster that comes out of an outside toilet. All that. It's not dropping F-bombs. There's not like a bunch of sexually shown stuff or anything like that that would seem unsuitable for a kid. But it's got scary, boogery, you know, stuff in it. Great stuff. Wonderful creator. You could get a hold of him on Anthony Cleveland. You can get a hold of him on Blue Sky if you're on Blue Sky. Super nice guy. So anyway, I'm enjoying these a lot. I believe that the grand finale is the next book, number 4, and then they're going to make a trade paperback, which is kind of custom now for this. Long story short, I'm just going to keep holding them up while I'm talking about them. That way, you know, you people see as they go through a video. Long story short, the way that this starts is that there is a woman, kind of has like a German European accent. She says "ja" at the end of some of the stuff that she talks about. She's adopted these 3 girls, like a staircase in age. The one was reading all of these stories, like, fairy tales and folk tales, and she's reading about an ogress and all that wanted to be queen or whatever. I don't want to like spoil what it's getting into, but that there are real monsters that are going to be in it. And that goes to the title, Buried Long, Long Ago. You reap what you sow. I'll just say it like that. And all that. We're talking like generational curses, bad things that happen on land and in certain places, that kind of thing. And I'll just leave you there and not go into a big spiel about it. But yeah, so they wind up with this woman. She's kind of like a Black Widow type. She's always got some man that's interested in her. She has a farmhouse, all that. It does not go well for them. They're essentially like the equivalent of the drummers in the Spinal Tap movie, which does have a sequel coming out this year. Being a drummer, I had been on a site and said I would be interested in being one of these drummers that is employed by Spinal Tap, in a movie for like, 2 seconds and like die, because that's what happens to the drummers. Anyway, Buried Long, Long Ago. It is a really nice, well-constructed, beautiful art, nice writing, not like these overbearing, overrun with words kind of stuff. Very professional, good stuff. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's got the scary stuff going on. Mad Cave will have a little preview to like another comic in the back of it. So you'll get like 4 or 6 pages of something else that you might be interested in as a commercial. That's not a bad idea. I'm all about that. That's what they do on television. That's what they do with a lot of things, is they advertise and show you commercials so it can pull you into something that you're not already a part of. So you get that. It's hot stuff. Buried Long, Long Ago, Mad Cave. This is 2 and 3. 3 just came out recently. Number 4 will be out. I don't remember when. I would have to look it up. I can, but yeah. If you go on like League of Comic Geeks or Previews World or whatever, you can look stuff like that up. You can type them in and you can find out like when they're coming out ahead. So Buried Long, Long Ago. It's something that I would recommend. It doesn't go up in any direction that I feel is questionable or seedy, except that it has like blood, violence, gore type stuff. It's not like you're not seeing somebody beating somebody to death. You're seeing like a bloody body after they get whacked. It doesn't go on for like 10 pages of that happening or anything. Ooh, what else? I also, and I got on the I Shook Comics podcast because we were talking about how we were going to go and do previews for comics, and I would just as soon do more than less. Hey, Ratpor. No, it's not a new apartment. It's actually my new home. So we've been here for a few months now, and this room is called the Bin Den. So that's why it's not like fully furnished. We're still trying to sell our other trailer. We've got a buyer. They're going through the stuff with the bank. That just takes like a good while. So yeah, 2 mortgages, fun stuff. Anyway, though, I read the Green Arrow, all 3 of them. The Longbow Hunters. I love it. It's from 1987. Mr. Grail wrote it, and it's great. Very bloody, very violent. Real world Seattle is where it takes place. And yeah, I showed some of this on like a let me just pull it up. I showed some of this on a podcast with Benny, some of the more violent stuff, and he's like, "You can't show gore online. It's illustrated. It doesn't look like a photograph. It looks like very good art, is what it looks like. But gore and everything going on. You've got just amazing stuff happening in here. So this psychopath has this woman who is in fact a black canary. She's not wearing her blonde wig, and she has a concussion. She's covered in blood. he says to a young man that's there with him, this guy does, if he wants some of her, to let him know so he can go ahead and get it, because after he's done with her, it'll make him want to puke, that she's not going to have a face in a minute. He gets an arrow, as you can see, shot through him, dead. Go Green Arrow, dead. You've got a serial murder that's cutting people up with knives. You've got a Robin Hood killer. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I will just like drop a few touchstone fire words or whatever. There's talk about the Yakuza and internment camps that Japanese were sent in. The Robin Hood killer's Japanese. All kinds of things like that. You got some bad gangsters. You got money being laundered. You've got all kinds of things that have went on in here. Government cover-ups, all that goodness. It's a thing of beauty. This is the Longbow Hunters. It's good. Big plot. A lot of people are doing crack, and they've got drug use and drug paraphernalia and whatnot being found. So it's good stuff. Okay. So anyway, the only other thing that I was really going to talk about that I had went ahead and mentioned was the Superman movie. Now, I watched it with my wife. We both enjoyed it. I would give it an 8 out of 10. She would give it a 7 out of 10. There's a lot of videos on it that just give like full on spoilers. I'm going to tell you right now the 4 that I thought were the best and the one that I thought was the absolute best. I liked, is it Zaffy, I think is his name. It's the dude that wears the ski mask with the one thing over his eye and, talks about being addicted to drugs and comics and all that kind of thing. I thought that his was good. I thought that Shane Davis's was good. I thought that Sticky Goose's was good. And the one that absolutely slaughters them all, and they are good, by the way. Quite good. The one that absolutely slaughters them all, because I felt like it was so insightful, is called Doomface. And this dude makes like a video once a week. Fantastic. Talked about Superman Woman of Tomorrow, which I then watched a video on from Comic Storian, because I've not read that Tom King book, to see what that is. I will say that Sticky Goose said the thing about it that would be the best selling point that you could say to me about something, and he said it's like True Grit in space. So yeah, Supergirl comes in the very last scene of the Superman movie. That's been talked about for months. There's going to be spoilers. That's been talked about for months now, so it's not a secret that had happened. She's staggering drunk. And I'm like, this Supergirl just doesn't appeal to me. I'm not saying accurate or inaccurate, and this is accurate if you're following it up with that. But I'm like, this just doesn't really appeal to me. But it's going to flow into the other story, and it does sound like the storyline is pretty True Grit, and being the Western dude that I am. If Jonah Hex came in like that, I'd just be like, yeah, man, because it's his character. It's the way that I perceive him to be and everything. I'd be all about it. The dog, Crypto, did have 2 day-saving moments at least, and he was more or less the comedy relief of this movie. So it was for some cuteness, some quirkiness. People have cited it as it had like Marvel humor in a James Gunn tone. Duh. There are directors that don't, and it makes me mad when they don't, because if you're going to see a James Gunn film, you're wanting it to come off like a James Gunn, movie, right? So, Tim Burton with Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter or Killer or whatever it was, it sucked. I hated it. It was like he was trying to make an X-Men movie, and it didn't have any of the Tim Burtonness that I like so much, that I expect from any film with his name on it. It wasn't Edward Scissorhands. It wasn't Sweeney Todd. It wasn't Beetlejuice. It wasn't Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It didn't have that to it. So if James Gunn made a movie, and if it just like didn't feel like James Gunn, that would be weird, unless he just took it someplace that was so phenomenal that you couldn't even question it and somebody still would. I enjoyed the movie. I didn't like the depiction of Superman in certain ways, and in certain ways it was fine. Like him saving the squirrel, him saving the dog, him being the Boy Scout that he is. Yeah, that was fine. You know, he was kind of just like beat a lot, like beat badly a lot. And you know, let's say there's people that haven't even read a comic, a Superman comic. Let's just pretend there are, because I think there's a lot of normies, and I do think that this spoke to people, that people were cheering and everything. But I think that when you watch any of the animated Superman stuff, and when you watch a collection of every single solitary live action thing of Superman, usually you have the same exact character. There might be some weirdness in there, like the Batman versus Superman movie or whatever. That was just nuts. I didn't like it at all. I do like Man of Steel, but I did not like the Batman versus Superman. It was like some kind of a freaky indie film, and I don't like that Lex Luthor at all. But usually Superman is the same. This Superman stands apart from every single one of them, the way that his personality is and the way that he acts. And I'm not saying good and I'm not saying bad. I'm just saying, that he raises his voice and screams at Lois. Absolutely, he's this compassionate guy. But I think that he just has such an amount of like temperance. And I'm not talking about like not getting drunk or drinking. I'm talking about self-control, that you don't get out of control and aren't unhinged. But you can just go in there like you're an accountant or something, and you're just like that chill, even in moments of stress, like a real soldier. I didn't see that exhibited in him, and I feel like it would be something that would be. I think that he's an aspirational character. All that. There's a bunch of other points that people can criticize. What people stood up and cheered for intently, and people did cheer when Supergirl came on, by the way, Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner in this was absolutely perfect. I was at a comic shop doing a signing, and there was a couple that came in and said the part we don't like about it is Guy Gardner. And they're in the minority, I feel like, because overwhelmingly people like this character that has never been represented before in live action, and he was perfect. Mr. Terrific. It was an absolutely great portrayal of Mr. Terrific. Metamorpho, who I heard somebody, I don't remember who, so I don't want to say wrong, criticize Metamorpho being in this. I thought he was a really compelling character. I thought that he added something, je ne sais pas, whatever, something to it. He had this hurt and pain and feeling and compassion, and he wanted to be a better man, had full control over his abilities. I thought he was a cool character in it. I thought that it was good. I thought it was great that they were introducing him. Hawk Girl, there's a big fandom, or there's a fandom for her. I think it's more underground or whatnot. She was a good supporting character as far as that goes, and I just say that she was a good supporting character because they didn't do enough with her to make some huge thing, but they could totally do like a Justice Gang thing, give her a storyline here or there, make it more in depth, and there you have it. She did kill a wicked a ruler that was trying to like genocide a bunch of people and everything, and we can talk about real life political things that James Gunn may have put in. But as far as a fiction world goes, it did work with the story. It did not feel preachy. Nothing in it felt like anything was being jammed down your throat. But just even the monkeys that were doing stuff, we know, sure, that's social commentary about everybody that gets on the internet and toxic fandom or whatever. But it didn't feel preachy. It was done well for the story. So you have that. It wasn't something where it just felt like it was just like shoved in. It felt like some kind of a zany, stupid, quirky comic book thing like I would have watched on Super Friends when I was growing up in the 80s. So, it didn't really feel that weird. Yeah, I thought that all of the other characters outside of Superman really had a better push than Superman. There's a lot of stuff that has been said about how Superman's been more or less made into invincible because Jor-El wanted him to come and lord over the earth, where that's never been the canon. But it doesn't affect Superman's character because you got the nature versus nurture. We treat him on a really dark, crazy, weird stuff, like that Goku, as well, I believe. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball. You got that. You're there to lord over the earth and to make it the new Krypton or whatever. But yeah, so he was raised by Marion, and what is it? Is it John, Martha, whatever? You know what I mean? The Kents. He was raised by them. I'm getting all tongue tied and everything. It's late in the day, but they're wholesome people. A lot of people criticized how hillbilly they were. I think that a lot of what was done with them is it was to put a broad differentiation between them and the people of Metropolis. So they were real rural and real country, salt of the earth people and everything. I thought that it was all right. I'm planning on passing on the Fantastic Four. It just doesn't appeal to me. Maybe it'll be a good movie. Maybe it won't. None of the Fantastic Four live action movies have really been good movies. It's sad. It's a shame. They've all kind of been it's almost some kind of piece of nostalgia. Some of them are. I'm planning on watching Red Sonja, though. I'm going to go down there in August. I'm also planning on watching The Toxic Avenger, which is a totally different type of movie. It's more Deadpool, Wolverine. Seeing that in August. I don't know of any other comic book movies that are coming out this year, and there may be some. But I know that I'm looking forward to Spider-Man Noir that's coming on Amazon. That'll be next year, and I'm looking forward to The Batman 2, which the bar is set high for those, none higher than The Batman 2. I really like The Batman. Any issues that anyone might have with it, it had some pluses that were so overwhelmingly huge that I feel like it dwarfed every other Batman film made, with the first two in the Dark Knight trilogy coming in the second and third slots for me. I gravely dislike Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. I don't like them. I don't like the tone. I don't like the feel of it. But yeah, somebody sold me on the Batman when they said it was like 7, and yeah, it kind of is. The Penguin series followed that up beautifully. It was totally in the same world. Sophia Falcone exceeded my expectations on writing that character, and so perfect. The show was everything that I wanted it to be, and as somebody that's a good writer and appreciates good writing, I couldn't have done any better. It was top notch. I can't imagine it being better than it was. It was exactly what it was supposed to be. It shot the arrow through the bullseye and possibly even shot another arrow through that arrow. It was that on the mark. I mean, it was good stuff. That's why it's like one of my things that I said that I liked about the Batman. Man, I was talking about Superman. This is the Batman thing, but this is my jam. So Superman, I'm like what, 8 out of 10. The Batman, I don't know. I might would give it a 10 out of 10. At least it's a 9 point something out of 10. Did they race swap two characters? Yes, it didn't do anything to affect the story. I don't know. I want them to keep it grounded. Anybody that asks for anything other than grounded, I want to say that I think that that's criminally stupid, and it just doesn't fly for me, especially right off the bat. I'd heard somebody say, the Penguin needs to be using the umbrella as a weapon. There's subtle ways of doing that. You could have like a cyanide tipped umbrella, like a KGB agent or whatever, and that would be fine. There's all kinds of little things that you can do without having it like cartoony and zany and like a parody of real life. So, I mean, I would be fine with something like that, but I mean, I don't want it to go into any kind of way goofy. I would rather it keep playing out that he's a stone cold gangster. The Penguin was the best Penguin of any Batman live action thing, period. He's the Penguin that I always wanted for any of that. Heath Ledger is probably the best live action Joker that I've seen. After him, I'd probably have to go to Gotham, and I don't think a lot of people would go there. But I did like what they did with the character that was and wasn't the Joker. He was basically Mark Hamill's Joker. He kind of did some like weird Jared Leto stuff too. Later in it, had a twin brother. They were kind of hitting like all the angles and weird stuff. And I'm not a fan of that one, but with the stitched on face and everything. But he had some personality and everything. I still preferred the Heath Ledger's by far, because he's supposed to look like just a complete scary maniac, and you didn't really get scary off of the other ones. You got like funny. He's supposed to be disturbing to you. I liked the Joker movie, which isn't canon. The first one particularly. I liked the second one fine, and thought it was good that he wasn't the Joker, but I like the interaction with him and Bruce as a kid, and he's there through the fence and he's doing the stuff and all that. And he thinks about him there in Crime Alley with his dead parents, and he's laughing, and the psychologist says, "What are you smiling about?" And he's like, "You wouldn't get it." I liked it. I liked the movie a bunch. I feel like the Batman 2 would be grand if it had like the Mad Hatter or something in it, based on what his character is, a man that likes little girls and does like hypnosis on people and all that. That's really cringe and really creepy, and people would like to see him just get like beat unmercifully and hung upside down by the ankle from a bridge or whatever. That would be good stuff, and it would totally flow with the Batman type stuff, more so than a Victor Freeze or something would, that you had a more grounded villain like that. So yeah, you could do like a Joker or whatever, but I mean, I'm trying to be like, try to get a more grounded villain, like a less laser cannons and supernatural and sending like vines flying through the air grabbing people. Professor Pig, he's not bad. Lots of stuff. I like the Court of Owls, but I think it would be too soon for the Court of Owls. I think that you need some creepy stuff. Is it Hugo Strange? Things like that. I mean, all kinds of things that you could do. Really, Killer Croc wouldn't be bad. Killer Croc, and I'm not going to talk much longer. I'm going to hop off here in a minute. Killer Croc, I don't know why they want to make him less human. I think that he would be better if he was more human. If I was writing a Batman thing, and again, I have written like a public, Comic Jam Batman thing that just kind of like didn't come about. But if I was writing one and went all into the Killer Croc stuff, I would have him to be, ethnically, he would be a black guy, but he would be an albino, and I would have him to where he did like that Papua New Guinea thing to his skin, where he like cut it and it made like those alligator scales for like the scarring. You've seen native tribes do that. Another thing that like native tribes do, like the Zapazap tribe in Congo, is that they would file their teeth down to points. Have him like that. So have him where he is like a very un-American looking black man who's also an albino that has all this native ritualistic stuff done to him. That would make him pretty scary. I would probably have him speaking with like a Haitian accent too. You'll hear people do like a Jamaican accent, but not like a Haitian accent. And I think you could do like a scarier character, with the Haitian accent. So you maybe throw like some French in there, not like France French, but like Haitian, Haiti French. And there, because that's what they speak. But have some of that going on. I think that would add a neatness to the character, because you want him to feel like foreign and like he doesn't belong, and there because that's scary to people. Things that, like, you know, you had some weird thing sitting in your room. You'd be like, where did this come from? So it would be offsetting is the word. But I think that that's what I would do in that instance. But no, there's a lot of good Batman characters, and I particularly like Batman a lot. I like darker vigilante characters to read about, to write about, what have you. There's psychologists that say that that's cathartic, but hey, whatever. I like all the Death Wish stuff and Dirty Harry and all of those types of things. The Hills Have Eyes, but yeah, I am. I'm looking forward to the Batman thing. I like that Spider-Man Noir has a Sin City kind of look to it. I know that it's like way darker than normal Spider-Man. Like the Vulture cannibalizes Uncle Ben in the comics, so hopefully that happens. Hopefully he just goes full on like Walking Dead and like rips a big piece of meat out of his throat, and they have like the arterial veins like pumping blood, and wide open and going everywhere and all that. You can use chocolate. That's what they did in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, because the consistency with blood and chocolate and color and all were perfect for the shower scene. So you could totally do that, seeing as how it's in black and white. A Hershey's syrup, But yeah. All right. Anyway, that's my spiel on the Superman movie and the comics that I read, and some things that are coming up that I'm excited about. Another thing that I want to mention is that there's a bunch of stuff that's coming out this Wednesday. So my top 4 comics, I may go a little bit deeper than that, but my top 4, what Benny and I have already announced that we're doing, much to his chagrin, because he wants to keep it a secret, and I just went ahead and bleh. So it's not going to be that way any other time. This will be on Thursday that we'll be doing this review, but we'll be doing the IDW Star Trek Red Shirts #1. I like that it's a #1 for him. I think that he's going to like that it's Star Trek stuff. I had said that my picks for myself would be more along the lines of Blood Brothers Mother #4 by Distillery. There's also The Prodigal Son #4. Both of them are like dark kind of westerns. They're both westerns. Gail Simone is doing a series that is in the Rebel Moon franchise, and it's called Nemesis #1. Will be coming out this Wednesday. There's also a Red Sonja Noir, if you're interested in that. Then there's also, and I don't know how many comic shops have this, but you can like request them or whatever, have them in your pull box. But they're coming out Wednesday. There's Charlie Brown Game Day. It's Peanuts Game Day, and it's a book that has all of those. There's several Tintin books, and there's a Hagar, like the Viking from the newspapers, that comic strip. He was never my favorite, but it was always there. There's those. So those are the ones that stand out to me more. Probably also a super popular pick, because Marvel's always like popular. They've got the Spider-Man Predator thing, which I've not read, but I've heard so many people say that they're just really, really, really good, and I think even kind of violent, like quite violent. But #4 of that is coming out. So if you're following, that's another one that's hitting there. Those are the ones that pop to me. Again, with the Benny stuff, I was trying to think what would he like. But within my own like personal taste, it usually skews towards horror. And if it's like Western horror, like in the Old West, way more. So yeah, a lot. That's my thing. I like Golden Age nostalgia stuff too. The Wednesday after this week is when DC will be having their new history, world history #2. And I have their new world history #1, which I found very enjoyable. It's got a lot of imagery on it. My boy Wesley Dodds, the Sandman, wearing his gas mask and fedora and all that was the selling point for me on it. In #2, they've got the Phantom Stranger on the cover of that with, a variety, a montage of other people. But the Phantom Stranger is my selling point on that. I will tell you in the first book too that Jonah Hex did have like a little, picture in it as well. So because those are the ones that I like. So they're all in it, and that should be cool. I'm ready to go. That's about it. That's what's going on. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye bye.